Hey, welcome back to a special Christmas episode of the Hotel Orloff. We're up here on the 47th floor of the Hotel Orloff, just looking through stuff and organizing. It is a Tuesday afternoon. Forgot about this magazine, Giant Robot. Is this from the 90s? When did this... I lose track of time. Yeah, I believe that says 1998. It's a magazine about Japanese pop culture. Japanese toy robots. 1990s, there were a lot of magazines. Well, a lot of cool magazines came out in the 90s, and then the internet hit and everything dried up because everything was just online. But, you know, let's say there was a really interesting web page that you read in 2003. Could you just very easily conjure that up right now and read it and be nostalgic about 2003? I think that would be hard. That web page may not even be there anymore. But these magazines, you know, prior to the advent of the internet, you can just pull them out of a box. And you have to forgive me for not having it bagged and boarded. Shonen Knife, that was a pretty great Japanese band. I guess they're still around. This is the kind of magazine you would buy. I don't know if Barnes & Noble would carry it. This would be probably more likely in alternative record stores, punk rock kind of, you know. Yeah. In the 90s, I was really into Japanese pop culture, Japanese TV shows, specifically in movies. Really, I still am, but sometimes you go down, you know, rabbit holes for a while and get really into one thing, and then there's another shiny object, and you go after that as a collector, but you don't forget the other things you love. It's just like, oh, there's something new. And I became, here's another magazine from about that same time period called Markalite. Now, Giant Robot delves into all aspects of Japanese culture, the music, the movies. This is more into Japanese monsters and superheroes. And boy, do the Japanese do superhero shows great. Well, here's Kamen Rider Black. They did, and here's from Monster Zero. Fall 1990. It's Kumi Mizuno. Sorry, I still have this cough. I've had it for weeks. Yeah, I just took these magazines for granted. I just thought they'd always be around. And then suddenly, when I think back on it now, when I look back on it with the perspective of time, I realize, you know, what happened to all these magazines? And I guess it was the internet. Really, the internet became something that I noticed in the late 90s. Boy, if you've never seen this cartoon, Colonel Bleep, it's not a Japanese cartoon. It's American from the 50s. You need to look. Trust me, it'll be the highlight of your month. It It's incredible mid-century animation. It's an alien, a caveman, and a little cowboy boy. He might be a puppet, and it's just great. And you could probably watch every episode that they've discovered on YouTube. I think it was made in Florida. It's color. It's a great cartoon. Look at this chart on Godzilla film attendance in Japan. This is a very Godzilla-centric magazine, Markalite. And then, what are they selling on the back here? You know, all videos, $35. I guess they're selling them on VHS, and then when did DVD become a thing? I've got to hit this timeline in my head. I think DVDs came in the late 90s, right about the time that the internet really, I mean, I know the internet was around earlier, and you may have been already into the internet, but you know what, how I discovered the internet, the local ABC affiliate on their local news, Channel 8 in Dallas, Fort Worth, they did a story on a website out of Austin run by a guy named Harry Knowles, and it was called Ain't It Cool News. That website's still around. I used to religiously look at that webpage before I even had a computer. You know, I would go to the library and I'd look at that several times a day because it was fascinating. All the news, you had all these spies in Hollywood and kind of nerdy spies that would let him know, you know, what movies are in production. And it was just all, and he concentrated on movies in kind of in the genres that we like. Horror, science fiction, comic book oriented. And I followed it, and then at some point I just kind of stopped following it. I don't know why. But that's why I started, that made me look up that on and then I kind of discovered the internet. Here's a magazine from May of 1995. It's the first issue. It's called Heroes on Film. And it covers superhero cinema from everywhere, from the United States, from like the Philippines, from Japan. And this stuff was really fascinating. Japan had all these 5-man team shows. Every year it would be a different 5-man team, and then they would all team up. You know, they would change, the show would have a different, and they were all different colors, as far as there was a pink one, a yellow one, a green. And they brought one of the shows called Zoo Ranger over the U.S. and called it Power Rangers in the mid-90s, and it became a huge hit. So now whenever you show pictures like this to anyone in the United States, they say, oh, Power Rangers. But Power Rangers was a very weak attempt to, here, I guess this is right after they'd done that, and see the inside of these masks are Japanese actors, but they filmed new scenes and you know, made I guess little kids on Saturday morning think that these people were actually inside the suits. Oh, this is Spectre Man. That was a great Japanese show. And then there's Kamen Rider V3, and this studio Toei had a Spider-Man series too that was spectacular. But see, this is covering everything: ISIS, Wonder Woman, Electro Woman and Dinah Girl. This is from Draculina Publishing. I think this is a magazine that you could get at Barnes and Noble. I think so. I don't know. I hate it going. It's every issue. Is this the same one? What? I apparently have 2 copies of that first issue. I must have accidentally bought it twice. But every issue kind of looks the same. Issue 2, you know, that's how you can easily accidentally buy it twice because, yeah, the little barcode stuck to it makes me think it was from Barnes and Noble. But here's, I think this character was called Darna from the Philippines, obviously a Wonder Woman imitation. I don't know. I've slept since then. Wow, what is that? Villainous from Urim 8. I need to read this article and see what that is. The Villainous I remember is from movie from, it wasn't from Japan, it was from Korea, and it was an imitation of Japanese shows. Like, it was basically an imitation of Ultraman and Kamen Rider, but it was from Korea, and it was called Inframan, and it was a feature film, and it came to the United States and played in theaters and drive-ins. Got a pretty big advertising campaign, and Siskel and Ebert both loved it. Siskel and Ebert were the 2 big movie critics on PBS. They had a show called Sneak Previews. Later it was called At the Movies. They both unfortunately passed away. I used to love listening to them. They were both Chicago newspaper film critics that got their own TV series. But that's Inframan there. And it was when $6 Million Man was on the air, and then they advertised him as the man beyond bionics, because he was half robot. And this was the villainous Princess Dragon Mom. And I was going to have my friend Joe Riley paint a picture of Princess Dragon Mom. Of course, he passed away before I could get him to do that, so I need to do that sometime. Maybe I'll do that this summer. Something I've been meaning to do. Yeah, the Japanese, there's a Japanese superheroine. So that's a magazine called Heroes on Film. It looks like I've organized this box. Yeah, I have 2 copies of that issue too. Here's the Japanese like coloring book and activity book from the 90s. So it's got little mazes and things that you can do. Fantastic. Here's a magazine called Monster Attack Team that came out of Dallas. They also had a public access show, and yeah, this is mid-90s. And then, yeah, I've got several issues of this, because I knew the people that made this magazine. Well, and then they went even slicker, even though it's not technically slick, it's just more, professionally printed. Anyway, this magazine, I believe, is still published. G-Fan, G meaning Godzilla. So this is a box of a bunch. Here's a better looking cover than that last one. Lots of cool stuff in here. Here's Heroic Fantasy. I don't remember what I've shown before. This one's pretty cool because this doesn't have anything to do with Japanese culture at all. I think that's the end of that part of the box, but this is an interesting magazine. This is probably from, August 1985. And this has to do with Sheena, Queen of the Jungle, the comic book character that was made into a TV series. And this has a lot of pictures of Irish McCalla. She's there, posed as a jungle queen, but if you can look behind her, you can tell she's in just in someone's yard in a Los Angeles suburb. They probably intended to crop out the house behind her and make you think she was in a jungle. It also reprints some old comics, and it looks like they've printed some of their own comics in here too. A lot of times these amateur publications they've got this painting in the center. Some of these amateur publications, they get some of their own artwork in there to get it out to the public. There's a reprint of a Sheena, Queen of the Jungle comic from Fiction House. And then they've done this weird pastiche where that's Dinosaur from Ray Harryhausen's Valley of Guanji, but they've put in themselves and made it like a comic book. This is a dinosaur from the 1933 King Kong, but he's added himself or one of his friends kung fuing him in. So it's just a weird juxtaposition. This 1980s tough guy mixing it up. I'm saying that. And that's a painting on the back. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the guy that publishes the magazine and his girlfriend posing next to dinosaurs from movies. Here's the Living in the Past. It's a cool magazine. I recommend it, if only for the few pages of, and there's an article on Al Williamson in here too. Definitely put out by people that are clued in, and that's probably how I first discovered that there was a Sheena TV series in the 50s, since I wasn't around then. Heroic Fantasy number 3 is the number of that one. I've shown this magazine before. I highly recommend it. Fanfare. It used to be called Graphic Story. I don't have any of the issues called Graphic Story. Issue 2, this is from the late 70s. I would pick it up at Lone Star Comics. These are really some of mine. This is a great magazine. Really well done, well written, all that. I don't know what all's in this box. I'm just looking through. This was put out by Greg Theakston. I probably should open this. See, it says the Warren Report. That's a little pun. It's not about the Warren Report about the Kennedy assassination. It's about James Warren. And since it's put out by Greg Theakston was one of those guys tied in with Dave Stevens in a quest to find Betty Page back in the 80s. Because Dave Stevens put out the comic book The Rocketeer. He used old photographs of a model, a pinup from the 50s, and he put that character in as the girlfriend of the Rocketeer in this comic book. And then, it got out in the comic book fandom that there really is a real person that when people start trying to buy these old magazines with Betty Page in them. And then Greg Theakston, this guy that put this out, put out a magazine, little digest-sized magazine called The Betty Pages. I have every issue of that. I had to drive all over Dallas-Fort Worth to get it. One time my engine overheated trying to get a copy of Betty Pages, and the engine was gone. So I was very committed to that. But anyway, what's my point? Anyway, Greg Theakston was also instrumental in early reprinting of old Golden Age comics. Now when they reprint Golden Age comics, now they just snap digital pictures of the pages from an old existing comic book and maybe clean up the yellow or brown on the margins. But back then, the idea was you have to, if the original artwork doesn't exist, it's black and white, you've got to somehow get a black and white stat and then add color to make the reproduction, when you're reproducing these in hardcover form, look great. So what Greg Theakston did, he came up with a process called Theakstonizing. And what he had to do is actually sacrifice a real Golden Age comic. He tried to get one that was coverless, but he felt like, well, I've got to do it. One Golden Age comic has to die for me to be able to reprint these stories and allow people to actually read them, other than the few people that actually own those issues and that were probably afraid to take them out of the boards and bags. That was before they started sealing them in plastic. Now it's even harder to read them. So anyway, he came up with a way to bleach the color out of the pages and leave only the black in the black ink. And then he could reproduce that and add color to it. It was called Theakstonizing. It didn't last long. They've subsequently gone on to different things. Anyway, this issue of Pure Images, it covers Bob Clampett, Steve Holland, Space Ace Lon Chaney. Steve Holland, I used to have a friend named, well, I guess I still do. I haven't talked to him in years. Named Steve Holland, but Steve Holland was this model that was hired in the 60s to pose for the Doc Savage paperback covers, and he'd also played Flash Gordon in a TV series that was made in West Germany. It wasn't filmed in German. It was just, I guess, made in West Germany to save money. I'm not sure. Maybe it was a German, you might as well just say German now. I'm still thinking like the 50s. Anyway, lots of great comic book history in here. I mean, anytime you have something from Greg Theakston, that was the original cover they were going to go with for Action Comics #1. And of course, that's what actually was used with Superman. So, imagine if that was Action Comics #1. Well, these two teenagers had brought in to National Comics, which we now know as DC, this, here's a character we've created, right out of high school. It's called Superman, or the Superman, and it wound up in the trash. And Shelley Meyer, who for creating Sugar and Spike and the Three Mouseketeers, or at least you might know that, but I know that because I love that stuff. He pulled it out of the trash and said, hey guys, I think we should give this a second look. This isn't too bad. And so if it wasn't for him, Superman may not have ever happened, or at least not from DC. Anyway, the Warren Report, Part 1. I'm sure that Kevin at Gotham City Comics has seen this picture before, but he's a big collector of these old masks that they used to sell on the back of the Warren magazines. And that's James Warren there. He so badly wanted to be Hugh Hefner, and he put out a magazine called After Hours. It was an imitation of what Hefner was doing, and he'd put out this sci-fi magazine, or maybe that's Ackerman that did that. But anyway, James Warren teamed up with this ultra fan of horror and science fiction, mainly science fiction, named Forrest J. Ackerman, who had a huge collection. He'd been collecting since he was, like in grade school. Stills, movie posters, probably had one of the biggest collections in the known world. Stills going back to the silent movie era of horror, and something happened in 1957. Television was still new. Universal released their horror films from the 30s and 40s to television, or at least they released them in waves. And they released it as a package to local television stations called Shock Theater. And you'd get the original Frankenstein, the original Dracula, all that. And so they started showing them on TV, and the local stations throughout different parts of the United States would get a local guy, maybe the weatherman for the local station, and they dress him up as a ghoul or some kind of monster, and they would introduce the movie and tell little funny jokes and do little skits, which is what's morphed in today's Spingoolie. You can see on MeTV, it's the same basic shtick. And so that really hit with kids in the 50s, the rock and roll generation, the baby boomers, the first of the baby boomers, loved the monster stuff, and the monster craze hit. And that, so right about that time, they put out Famous Monsters of Filmland #1, and it became a huge hit. Everyone tried to imitate it. Monsters were just a huge fad. No, they weren't a fad. It was a craze. A fad is something that, that lasts a few months. A craze keeps going, and because it went all through the 1960s and into the 70s when I was a kid. The monster craze was killed off by something else that I love, which is Star Wars. At least I loved it back then. I would never say I love Star Wars today, because I would be misinterpreted, because there's so much Star Wars now. People would think, oh, you like all of these? No, I like 3 movies, But you used to be able to, in the 70s and into the 80s, used to be able to say, I love Star Wars, and people know, oh, okay, you're talking about Luke Skywalker and Han Solo and Chewbacca and Princess Leia. That was there were 3 Star Wars movies. Now you can't do that. Now it's 90% horrible stuff, and there's 3 movies that are great. Okay. This is interesting. Look at that. It says 2 years before the birth of Famous Monsters, your editor, Forrest J. Ackerman, poses with infamous monster which he agented to movies. Okay. He's there with Laurie Nelson on the set of The Day the World Ended. What are they reading? Yeah, I need to reread this article, man. What am I doing with my life? Why am I on YouTube instead of reading these old magazines? Well, there's a few people out there that care. Anyway, it's an article about James Warren. And there's let's see what else they got in here. We got a great, gosh, it's so great. Al Williamson reprint. And say Greg Theakston has reprinted this either from the original art, or this is an example where he's bleached the color out so we could get a black and white master. Article on Lon Chaney. Here's article on Steve Holland. They also turned him into the Avenger, who was another character created by Kenneth Robeson. And there he is playing Flash Gordon on that TV series. And he was perfectly okay, Flash Gordon. It just, Flash Gordon's supposed to have blonde hair, but we'll forgive him. We'll forgive him for that. You can watch episodes of that 1950s Flash Gordon on YouTube as well. Here's an article on the life of Bob Clampett. A lot of great stuff, Pure Images. I think this magazine was also published. Some of the issues are in smaller format, comic book sized of this magazine, Pure Images. I've got some that are in a box back behind me. But this one's magazine sized, therefore it's in the magazine boxes. I got this. Remember the disaster movie craze of the 1970s? Look at this camera, will zoom right in. Yeah, this little Piper Cub airplane crashes right into the pilots on this 747. And the stewardess, Karen Black, has to take over with instructions from Charlton Heston, who I think was her ex-boyfriend or something. I remember seeing this movie in the theater. I felt like an adult because my mom dropped me off at the theater. I bought my own ticket. I went in there and sat there alone and watched it. It was an amazing experience that I was able to watch a movie on my own. This movie theater in San Antonio. I don't remember what it was called, and I mean, it must have been not far from where I lived, and I've talked to the crypt keeper of Castle Hills, who's lived in San Antonio most of his life. It's like, but I'd have to get, a copy of the San Antonio Express News, or I think the other newspaper was San Antonio Light. I like the Express News better as a little kid, because I read the newspaper as a kid. I'd have to get a copy of that and see the ad for Airport 75 and see where it was playing and what the name of that theater was. I used to call it up, and because before the internet, and couldn't even wait for the newspaper to come out. I'd call up and a recording would tell me what movies were playing. I went the same way I saw the Murder on the Orient Express. I got to see that by myself. That was cool. The pilots see this airplane coming straight for them, and it shows the impact. There's a gory picture in here that's pretty horrifying, where it shows the pilot all blinded, as I recall. What happened is there was a movie called Airport in 1970, and it was a big budget movie, and it was about, there was a bomber on the plane, and that was the first disaster movie in 1970. And then in 72, The Poseidon Adventure from Irwin Allen came out, and that was a hit. And then everyone realized, okay, these movies with these giant casts of old movie stars, where disaster happens, that's the next thing. So Hollywood, after The Poseidon Adventure, started making a bunch of movies, and it took a couple of years, and then they all hit at the same time. A couple of years after Poseidon Adventure, everyone starts doing it, and then you get The Towering Inferno, came out in 74. Airport 75 came out in 74, even though it says 75. Earthquake came out the same year. Those are the big three that came out the same year. And there were a bunch of other little ones. And then the next year, Jaws came out, and then everyone thought, that's the new thing, a giant animal that eats people. So then they quickly came out with Grizzly, about a grizzly bear. I never saw that movie. Grizzly bear that eats people, and what else? There were a bunch of animal movies. And then what took over from that? Well, Logan's Run was big in the summer of '76, but it was the next summer when Star Wars hit that was it. Then it was all space stuff, and that's what caused the monster craze ultimately to go away. Even though there were monsters in Star Wars, there was the cantina scene where you saw the aliens and everything. Where is that gory picture? I want you to be disturbed and traumatized like I was when I was in 4th grade when I bought this magazine. So it's in here, man. I know it is. Even though it's just, it's just a guy with ketchup on his face. It's just kind of like, oh my gosh, that's terrible. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's Karen Black there with the pilot and all this blood. He can't see. So, one of the pilots just gets sucked out of the plane. That's the one that lives, but he's blinded. Maybe he dies after that or something. Otherwise, he could have talked her down. Yeah, I think he must die in the back of the plane. And then she has to listen on the radio to her boyfriend telling her how. And then I think this helicopter comes in. Is a helicopter? I think Charlton Heston has to get in through the hole and help. Is that what happened? I can't remember, man. Meyer was saying he just was watching this the other week. I haven't watched it in a while. I had the soundtrack. I have the soundtrack album. I used to listen to that a lot. The theme song is really haunting, but the best one is the theme song to The First Airport. That thing I used to, as a kid, fantasize as I read those 1960s Fantastic Four reprints and the Marvel Treasury Edition or Marvel's Greatest Comics. I used to fantasize. What if there was a Fantastic Four movie and they used this theme song, the theme song to Airport, as the theme song? I'm sure that's what Quentin Tarantino was doing as a little kid. He was listening to these soundtrack records, because I love soundtrack records, and he's thinking that would be a great theme for that, because that's what he does, is he takes elements from different existing movies and merges them together. And then the average person in a mall that goes to see a Quentin Tarantino movie doesn't know that these are all existing elements that he's married together, and just thinks it's all original. It's a weird way to make films, to steal opening songs from other movies, but, I mean, it works. The movies are fun to watch. I'm not insulting Quentin Tarantino. It's just, I guess that's what they do with hip-hop music, where they sample from other songs. Or what was that horrible guy, Vanilla Ice, and he just had a hit with, basically, it was a David Bowie song, Under Pressure, I think, and he just added some new words to it. It was really kind of pathetic. Oh my gosh. Did you know there was a Don Martin magazine? It's actually more shaped like a comic book. I probably should put this with the comic books. Oh, there's a whole poster in here. Yeah, I'm going to put this back here. It needs to be with the comic books. What am I thinking? I was wanting to do something. Yes, I know what I was wanting to do. I want to look. I was just talking about Marvel's Greatest Comics that reprinted Fantastic Four, and then there was another comic like that reprinted reprinted the Amazing Spider-Man. It was called Marvel Tales, and that was the way kids in the 70s were able to read those books from the 60s. But I was always told, those are edited, not for content, but because they had more pages in comics in the 60s, maybe a page or two more. So in the 70s reprints, they would edit out panels and things to shorten it to make it fit with the page count in a modern comic. And it's like they do with TV shows. You know, if you watch old TV shows like on MeTV, you're not seeing the entire show the way you would have seen in the 50s, 60s, 70s. Little bits are cut out so they can fit in the amount of commercials they're allowed to show today. So what I've always intended to do is I'm going to get my box of Marvel Tales now, and I'm going to pick a random issue, and I'm going to compare it to a Marvel Masterworks. I'm going to see what's cut out. You would think, and there's got to be someone anal retentive enough on the internet that's done a comparison and is like meant with every issue of Marvel Tales or Marvel's Greatest Comics and said, this is edited out of page. Someone must have done it, but I haven't been able to locate it. So I'm going to just experiment and see. Well, I see that Joe Biden is referring to Trump today as a convicted felon. How about that? Okay. This is I never have had a copy of Marvel Tales number 1, but this is Marvel Tales number 2. And so these are reprints of the early stuff from Marvel, but not long after they were originally published. Now, this makes me so happy just to touch this. I can't even explain it to you. The year I was born, 1965. Amazing X-ray vision instantly. There are people that of course, this is in... What condition would you call this? It's together. The pages aren't falling out. The cover is attached. It's got, marker on it. Would it be very good minus? I don't know. Anyway. Reprints of early Hulk. Look at this ad for t-shirts. It's got an X-Men reprint. I mean, the thing about it is this is an inexpensive way. That's a reprint of X-Men number 1, man. It's an inexpensive way to actually have the feel of reading, because this is a Silver Age comic. This X-Men number 1 is being printed 2 years after the original X-Men number 1 came out. So, okay. There's a great video on YouTube. The guy that wrote those amazing TV themes to the 1966 Marvel Superheroes cartoons that came out from Grand Tree Lawrence Studios in Canada. There's a video of him. He's an older gentleman, and he talks about how he was brought in and he came in, he wanted to get the job to write the theme songs for a Hulk cartoon, Iron Man, Submariner, Thor. Who did I leave out? Hulk, Iron Man. Who did I leave out? There was Submariner, Thor, Captain America, right? Captain America is probably the most famous theme. Okay. So, he sat down with Stan Lee, and Stan Lee says, "Well, what do you know about our characters?" And he said, "Well, I guess he admitted he didn't know much." So apparently he was handed a stack of comic books, and he looked at them, and then he came up with the themes. Can't prove this, but I've said this before. I believe he was handed this issue, and from this issue, reprinting this issue of the Hulk, that's how he came up with the theme for the Incredible Hulk. Because in the Hulk theme, the theme, Doc Bruce Banner, belted by gamma rays, turns into the Hulk, ain't he unglamma rays? You know, unglamorous rhymes with gamma rays, right? Reckon the town with the power of a bull. He's no monster clown. And I always thought, well, there was kind of a lady, the New York accent sounds like Betty Boop. And I thought, well, she's saying he's no monster, comma, clown. Like, in other words, she's saying he's no monster, you clown. No, who's as lovable as the ever-loving Hulk, you know? In other words, she's calling you a clown for saying he's a monster. But in that YouTube video where some young guy plays the piano and he sings all the songs, he says, you know, in the early Hulk comics, he was often depicted as a clown. No, just in this one story. See this panel here? See, he's in the circus of crime, and they made him the clown. And so, of course, here he wipes the makeup off. So looking at those several panels is why, yeah, here he's juggling a horse and an elephant, and I don't know, what is that animal? So it really, the theme really does say he's no monster clown. So it's just him not quite understanding the comic. So that's a little bit of trivia. Some people there's bits of poetry that people don't understand. I just remembered, because we were talking about what's his name? I was about to call him Obama. Biden calling Trump a convicted felon. I just got a letter from President Trump. I haven't opened it yet. I was saving it for you guys. Let's go look at that. Oh, and also misinterpretations of poetry. I've got something else I want to pontificate about. Tune in Thursday night. The Dum Dum Show. Captain Strangelife's going to be on. Myra Greenblatt is usually on. He wasn't on last time because he's in the process of packing. I think he passed out that night and so tired. You should, yeah, man, he's got a lot of toys he's got to pack, but he's mostly there. Mostly there. Okay. Oh, while I'm here, I need to get a Marvel Masterworks of the Amazing Spider-Man. So let's go over to the library. Oh, and while see, before I've shown you this new thing I got last weekend for $30, but I haven't. I showed it to you on StreamYard, and that's very pathetic, the quality on StreamYard. Now I'm recording with, boy, I look bad. I'm recording with the regular camera on my new iPhone. This is a shadow box, see? And it's got a little saloon there built in. Maybe, where did I put that flashlight? I might need a little light here. Anyway, it's got little shelves. Drew, what are you doing there? No. Oh, gosh. If I was a flashlight, where would I be? I wouldn't be there. Oh, well, maybe this camera's, look at this. I changed out. I had a Stagecoach here, that this Rancor from Return of the Jedi was about to wreck, but instead I've got this this diner. Isn't that cool? From it's one of those model kits that you get to put next to your HO railroad set. You know, the train would go by. But anyway, I like old diners. I've had that for a while. I don't know if you guys have seen it. So, okay, anyway, I've been trying to get all my Western figures, or as many as I can find, and put them on here. That was my idea when I got this little shelf unit. So it's got a saloon there, but got some of these big Marx figures. This is the stagecoach that the Rancor was about to destroy before, but I moved him in here. And look at these little, they look good from one angle, right? Like from that angle, but when you turn them, they're like ultra skinny. In order to save plastic, they made them super skinny. Those are the super cheap ones, man. Not everything was made better in the old days. Well, most things were. Anyway, they call those flats. So I've got two guys getting shot together. That kind of looks good. I found this Davy Crockett running this morning and added it to it. So I just got all these little, mostly Western people. And as I find more, there's Tonto. As I find more, I'll add them to this display. But that's not why we came in here. We came in here to get a Marvel Masterworks and volume 1. Let's try volume 5. And let's try volume 10. No, I want to try a little bit later on. Volume 16. I'm trying to get past the... man, I may have to use a... no, this is good. All right. So, okay, so this is to do the comparison with some of those Marvel tales, to see what was cut out, if anything. I mean, I've always heard this. I'm pretty sure that it's accurate. I don't know how long they edited later issues of Marvel Tales in the 90s. They started reprinting the early Ditko issues again, and they didn't edit anything, but they started trying to contemporize it. So Aunt May might have been talking about watching the Beverly Hillbillies, which was a new show on TV, and they would white out the words Beverly Hillbillies and have her talking about the Dukes of Hazzard, which was a current show. Oh, so that wouldn't have been the 90s. Maybe that was the earlier. I don't know. But only way you're going to know for sure is to actually have the original, 60s issues as a VHS of this stuff. Okay. Okay, let's see what we got here. Okay, these aren't going to be edited. It's not going to be these ones, because it's going to be later on. Okay, let's try Marvel Tales number 38, which reprints. Damn it. Usually they would have at the bottom, reprinted from Amazing Spider-Man number whatever. Now this is from a great time period in the 60s. Look at this panel. This is why it was such a great, John Romita's art, the 1960s. That's why I'm a real snob. My Spider-Man takes place in the 60s. Wish I knew what issue that was. Damn. 38. I have an omnibus. I just don't want to pull that out because they're so cumbersome. When do they start giving you the issue number? See, this is, still don't tell you the issue number. When I started reading these Marvel Tales, okay, is this? I have the original issue. This reprints. This is 42. Now I could just look up on mycomicshop.com and they would tell me what issue each one reprints, but I can't do that because I'm recording with my phone here. Oh, I know what I could do. I have the original issue of this. Where is it? Oh, excellent. I won't have to use the Marvel Treasury Edition. This is all my Silver Age Spider-Man. Yeah, this is the way to do it. What am I thinking? Okay, so you can see this is one thing you can do is look and we also compare coloring. The Silver Age colors tended to be more dark, and the Bronze Age reprintings tended to be more bright. And I mean, look at this. Wait a second. This has been partially redrawn. Look at this. That's a guy. Clearly, that's a guy. Here, it's an annoying liberal-looking woman. They've added a necklace. Oh, sorry. See? What else did they do? Strange. The guy in the original, see this guy back there? He just has like a turtleneck. Here, he's got beads. Okay, let's see what other stuff they did inside. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. At the bottom, this is what I remember. They would always tell you, at least from maybe 74 on, looks like those 20 cent 1973 issues, they didn't tell you. This is a reprint of 68. Yeah, 68. Okay, so I'm going to do an A-B comparison. I don't know. I'm sure it's been done before on YouTube. Why do I have tape on this? It's a self-sealing one. You know, I used to get these bags, and I didn't know how to do the self-seal. I thought, well, there's nothing sticky. I didn't know how to tear off the strip. So this one I've taped, even though I'm going to remove this tape. So I'd like to get more Silver Age Spider-Man. I worked out a deal at the end of July. I'm going to get one from Captain Strangelove. And I should have a little extra money then. And Kevin Johnson at Gotham City Comics is trying to rebuild his Silver Age collection of Spider-Man. Once he gets his all done, then when other issues come in, he's going to let me have first crack at them, you know, if I can afford. All right, so the other thing I want to compare. Okay. Well, one thing I'm noticing, you notice the coloring there on this. There's some white highlights. I'm not seeing that here. It's more of a solid color. Okay, so this is the reprint, Marvel Tales. So this 2-page spread is a very glossy cover. It's nice. Let's see if the two-page spread is intact. Let's see what's next again. Then there's a flashlight ad, and then there's this 1 page of Kingpin fighting. Let's see how they handle that in the 25-cent era. Okay, now they go to a 2-page ad spread. Okay, that's the page where he was fighting. Let me move you guys back. Okay. Okay, so that seems to be intact. The colors seem to be reproduced pretty much spot on. Then the next page here, it's the first page of a 2-page spread. But now it's the second page of a 2-page spread in the Marvel Tales reprint. Then we come to a 2-page spread in the 70s with these coins. I've never seen these coins in my life. Have you guys? There's even a Conan coin. Solid bronze collector's medallion coins. So this stuff makes me so happy. Okay, so then you turn the page. Okay, so this page here is the second page of a 2-page spread. In the 70s, it's the first page. Then we have this page. So we're looking for this panel of Parker and Gwen. And we turn the page in the 60s, and we've got the t-shirt ad, and the pillow ad, and finish high school at home because they figure you're not smart. Okay. Okay, that page is here. Okay, so far, nothing is missing. I turn the page, and in the 70s, they're trying to teach you karate. 2-page ad spread. And then the beginning of a 2-page spread, you've got J. Jonah Jameson talking to Robbie there, and it's the second part of a 2-page spread here. So far, everything's intact. Then in the 60s, you've got this page, Aunt May sick, missile firing tank. I am hearing that. I keep joking whenever I see these things. You know, it's only $6.98. Why don't we just send those to Zelensky and keep our money? But these cardboard tanks. I'm hoping Biden doesn't start. I'm hearing. Oh, my wife's calling. I better go see what's up with her. Okay, hold on. Let's turn the page. Okay, 2-page spread. They'll probably catch up and have the 2-page spread now. Yes, 2-page spread is intact. Okay, now this is the 60s 2-page spread, and we got to turn the page. Okay, 2-page spread intact. Colors seem to be consistently reproduced. Oh wow, look at this. This is the 70s Marvel Tales. There's an ad for the giant-sized chillers with the first Lilith. I bought that off the newsstand, so I know exactly when this issue of Marvel Tales came out from that. Okay. This makes me so happy looking at Spider-Man comics. What's wrong with me? Okay, so there's that. That's the 70s. Let's look at the original. Okay. Looks, so far, maybe what they're saying is wrong. Maybe these Marvel Tales are an okay way to read this stuff, because I don't see anything cut so far. But I may. There's an ad page. This is 70s, and then the 2-page spread. I'm wanting it to be okay. Okay, so their 2-page spread is broken up. There's the first page of it. That's intact. And then this page is okay. Come on, man. Don't have anything cut. Ooh. Next page from the 70s. There's an ad for Crazy with the Shaft parody and a Savage Sword of Conan cover. No, Savage Tales featuring Conan. That was even earlier. And there's no cover that looked like that. That's a mock-up. It's a pretty amazing. Imagine if there was a cover with that. That would have been great. Okay, so what's going on here? Okay, he's thrown down. Look at this ad. Here's Love Spray perfume. Pretty weird. Okay, so here's the second page of that 2-page spread in the 60s. Come on. Okay, then we turn to a 2-page spread in the 60s. You could get a darling little pet monkey that will destroy your house. Absolutely destroy it. Okay, turn the page. Okay. Okay, so you've got this page here with the kingpin down there. And that page is reproduced there. Oh my God, every page is intact and accounted for. And I've always been kind of ashamed for having all these Marvel Tales, because when Lone Star Comics opened and I was able, the Spider-Man comics were much more expensive than anything else. And I just thought, well, I'll just stick to my Marvel tales. I can't. But that made me very happy because it's all there, which means that you can very inexpensively. I'm sure that some of these issues do have things cut. I'll need to look at those Marvel superheroes comics that reprint stuff from that. They reprint Tales to Astonish. I don't know. Just, anyway, that's something I've been meaning to do literally for years. What I just did is a page-by-page comparison to. These Marvel Masterworks came out in the 80s. It's just, yeah, it's okay to read these, but just the bright colors and everything don't really reflect. I think it would be better to read from an original comic or from Marvel Tale. I don't know. I mean, it's a nice way to have it. It's just something's a little too blindingly bright about the colors here. I better see what my wife's calling about. Probably dinner. What time's? It's probably dinner time. Oh, I put the wrong lid on the wrong box. I'll be back. Okay. We got stuff to do, man. I gotta take these books back downstairs, and yeah, I gotta plug in the. I'm not used to doorbells. Used to just be something you pressed and they worked. I don't know this stupid digital doorbell where you've got to take it off. It runs out of battery, and you got to plug it in like a cell phone and let it. That's ridiculous. I mean, there's clearly a doorbell there that should ring, but somehow we've got this stupid doorbell system, and I haven't recharged it. So there's a camera and everything where you can see people, or if anyone walks their dog in front of the house, it kicks on. So I haven't recharged that. Oh, here's a little cube that I can recharge it with. And we're down to like $25 in the bank account, I was just informed. So that's nice. Right, Drew? But we have plenty of food. I have to make sure. I'm used to just in the morning getting something to eat at the little deli at the supermarket, and I need to just throw one of these meals in the. It takes 10 minutes to cook it. Need to do that. Okay, it's supposed to storm tonight, but right now it looks pretty nice outside. So let me get this doorbell. Oh, I didn't open the letter from Donald Trump. Okay, so come on, doorbell. I gotta put this little key in to remove it. It's actually, oh, there we go. This is the doorbell. Incredible. All right. Oh, look, it's Alan, the incredible cat. Don't worry, Alan the cat. Alan the incredible cat. Let's see here. There's a little white cord. I'm not used to recharging. Nowadays, you gotta recharge the battery on your vacuum cleaner. That's not the way it was when I was growing up with the Hoover vacuum cleaner that my mom got from Sears. You'd plug it in and it would run. All everything to charge everything seems un-American. All right, so we're going to charge the doorbell. And I see nothing. There should be a little light showing that it's charging. Okay, let me try this. I'm doing something wrong. Come on, light. Maybe it's the cube. I don't know, man. I'll try doing it upstairs. Okay, so that's that. What's going on? I was watching InfoWars, and it says malformed data. Malformed data. When I was a kid in the 70s, they didn't have malformed data. What does that even mean? Malformed data, indeed. Let's see if we can restart it. Oh, the letter. We were going to open the letter. Okay, it doesn't matter. We got to see what's going on with this historic letter that we received here at the Hotel Orloff. Okay. Yeah, Thursday night, 6:30, we'll have a live stream. The weekly Dum Dum celebration. I think it's the 8th weekly one. Where did the letter go? Now I need to go. Did I drop the letter? Oh, I know where I put it. When I was trying to show you the western town, I set it down. All the cowboy things. Here we go. It's a big letter. It's got his signature there. Hopefully this will be the first of many great mailings from Donald Trump. I think back when we lived in Texas, my wife once sent $25 to Donald Trump, so maybe that means we're on the mailing list of the Trump National Committee. See? Donald J. Trump, president. Oh, I don't want to ruin this highly collectible envelope, but a man's got to do what a man's got to do. I don't have a sophisticated letter opener. Just think at Christmas time, we'll already know how the election turned out. That's going to be a heck of a debate if it happens. It's supposed to be next month, right? Okay, I'm just tearing this envelope. It's dated Friday morning. I need your help, and I need it now. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and the radical left Democrats are ramping up their massive nonstop propaganda campaign to destroy me and our Republican Party. They're doing everything they possibly can to maintain control of the White House so they can permanently erode our... Hold on a second. So they can permanently erode our democracy and force their big government socialist agenda on our nation. In an all-out effort to discredit me, the Democrats and the liberal mainstream media are busy spreading their vicious lies and mistruths about my agenda and accomplishments, and trying to sell the American people their big government laundry list of extremely costly left-wing giveaways. It is truly unbelievable. We can't let them get away with it. When I was president, we had the greatest economy and country in the world. This is a long letter. I can't read the whole thing, but I will read it later. Anyway, he's hoping he can count on me to send a special contribution of $35, $50, $100, we've already given to Maranya, so we can't give this month, but maybe some other time. Oh, there's a survey that's attached. How do you generally identify yourself politically? Very conservative, conservative, moderate, liberal, very liberal, other. Do you approve of the job Joe Biden is doing as President of the United States? Approve, disapprove, no opinion. Do you feel that progressive Democrats and so-called woke corporations are waging a racial and cultural war and dividing Americans for their own personal and political gain? Yeah, it's a long survey here. Pretty cool. And there's a special envelope to send, your stuff back to. That's very nice to receive that. Now, we were talking about misinterpretation earlier. And you probably at a high school graduation or, something. You've heard people quote from this Robert Frost poem, "The Road Not Taken." Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that's made all the difference. You've heard that. And you say, well, that means that you shouldn't do what everybody else does. You should be independent and think on your own and do stuff that you want to do, and you'll be successful. And this is a poem that's been widely misinterpreted, possibly by your English teacher in high school or that taught you this. So let's read the full poem by Robert Frost, "The Road Not Taken." Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both and be one traveler. Long I stood and looked down and one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though as for that, the passing there had warned them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay in leaves, no step had trod in black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. And if you listen to this poem, if you read it, he's saying he took the other as just as fair, just as pretty, and having perhaps the better claim because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though as for that, the passing there had warned them really about the same. Saying both paths really were about the same. And both that morning equally lay in leaves, no step had trodden black. So new leaves had fallen on both paths, no one had walked on them yet. They both really looked about the same. And so he says, well, I'll take this one, and maybe I'll come back and go to the other, see what's on the other path some other day. And you really, I probably never will. And so I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that's made all the difference. In other words, someday I'll be an elderly statesman, whatever. People say, gosh, how did you do this with your life? And say, well, I decided to. It's like, take a sigh. I guess I just decided to do something that all my friends weren't doing. All my friends were out partying at frat parties, and I decided to, really work hard. Or I decided, to answer that ad on the back of the comic book, the ad that made a man out of Mac and take Charles Atlas's dynamic tension course, and that's why I'm now Mr. Olympia or whatever. But in reality, what he's saying is, in the poem, is that I will be BSing. I'll say, it's probably because I did that, but in reality, I don't know how. It's just, I didn't really do anything. I couldn't go. I couldn't go down both paths. It's like that one. Okay, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. But someday I'll be able to pontificate and say, yes, it's because I took the road less traveled by. But it wasn't less traveled by. They were the same. You just were led by life. That's what Robert Frost is saying. He actually wrote this as an inside joke with a friend of his, a fellow poet, and they'd go on walks and talk about life and their wives and this and that, and the other guy, that he I forget his name. He was another poet, not as famous as Robert Frost, but he would, after they finished their walk, he said, "Man, we should have taken that other path. I could have shown you this waterfall and all these other cool things, man. We should have done." He said he'd always do that every time, so he wrote this poem and sent it off to his friend. It's kind of an inside joke. It's like, they're really no different. But anyway, picked up this Robert Frost book that was being disposed of because no one's, libraries dispose of books, when they aren't checked out. But this is mostly a lowbrow culture show, right? We look at comic books and monster magazines and things like that. Sometimes we'll touch on highbrow culture, right? I got this book recently about Mike Allred. He's an artist. I've always liked his art. Oh, look at the Star Wars. Man, if he had just drawn, I don't know if he was old enough to draw the Star Wars Marvel comic, but that would have been great. He's got a great style, he and his wife. I just like his style. I tend to gravitate towards these artists that have the whimsical styles of art. Marie Severin, John Severin, Ramona Fraden, Mike Allred, Darwin Cook. Oh man, don't get me started. I can't think of them all. Just look at this artwork. So perfect. But oh, there they are. Very normal looking couple. Look at that. He took over the X-Force comic at Marvel and turned it into something completely different and horribly offended the Marvel fans, and they couldn't stand it. And I thought it was fun, this run of X-Force. They tried to bring it back a couple of years ago, but yeah, he's wonderful. So I guess that's him and his brother back in the old days. How old is Mike Allred? Born in Roseburg, Oregon. I'm guessing he's older than me by maybe 10 years. Just that picture looks like it was taken in the late 50s. That's my guess. It's based on how they're dressed and everything. Whew. There's another box of Marvel Tales, later period. I have a feeling it may be in these later issues they start cutting pages. I don't know. Reprinting. I think some of these that reprint these, what the new people getting into comics call key issues, have some value just because they're reprinting issues that most people can't afford in their original format. This one reprints the first Amazing Spider-Man comic I ever had as a kid. I should compare this with that early 70s Spider-Man comic to see. Spider-Man 127. That was bought for me by my mother when I was homesick from school, and I didn't really appreciate it until a little later when I discovered Marvel Treasury Edition number 2 that had all that great Fantastic Four stuff from the 60s, and then I realized these Marvel superheroes are great. I was only into the monsters. Tomb of Dracula, Werewolf by Night, Monster of Frankenstein, and then I went back and read that Spider-Man. And I had another Spider-Man comic that was a Marvel team-up with the werewolf, but I bought it for the werewolf. So that's something. So it looks like Marvel Tales, was reprinting up. This is the 40-cent era here, which is about 1980. So they're getting up to issue 138. But at some point between I didn't buy any after this because they were reprinting books I already owned that I bought off the stand. That's 115, but on 138, they start reprinting the classic Ditko Spider-Man. And I know these are not cut, but I know they will make few little alterations in the text. For some reason, they think they can make it contemporary. Like I said, if they make a pop culture reference to a TV show they're watching, they will alter it, something like that. Like if he talks about the Beatles, they might change it to whatever was popular in early 80s when these were done. So, Megaforce, man, that was pathetic. Everyone knew that was a piece of S. I don't know anyone that saw this in the theater. If they did, I'd lose all respect for them if they admitted it. The reason it exists is Hal Needham was a stuntman, and he was good friends with Burt Reynolds, who he was a stuntman for, and using his friendship, his buddy, being a buddy with Burt Reynolds, he was able to become the director on Smokey and the Bandit, which was a huge hit. That was summer of '77, the same summer as Star Wars. I think that might have been right after Star Wars, the biggest hit of the summer. I could be wrong. And a few months later, more around Thanksgiving or Christmas, that's when Saturday Night Fever came out, and that was a huge hit. But it couldn't be huge like Star Wars because it was R-rated and kids couldn't get into it. So then the movie studio released another cut out, a PG version, a few months later, so kids could get in and see it. And they cut out a few scenes that were R-rated. Anyway, these are basically Marvel Tales reprinted these Ditko stories in the 60s, late 60s, and then they're reprinting them again. They start over. I don't have all of these. They're pretty inexpensive depending on what comic store you go into. I don't think anyone's going to charge much for these. And they're sure fun to read. But they may be going up in value for people that can't afford the real thing. What fun, man. What fun. Reprinting an annual. So that's this is just brilliant stuff. Brilliant, I tell you. Now, they'd have these assistant editors month where they would do crazy things, but I don't know what they could do. What did they do in here? I hope they didn't mess with the Ditko story. What did they do? This is all, the comics from this era are depressing because of the ads for video games. You might say, oh, it's very nostalgic. I remember that Popeye game, but yeah. Oh, they do it in the letter page. They do, like, oh, I see what they're doing. They're making fun of the fact that they're making fun of how they're updating these stories, and they've got Peter Parker looking at these punk rockers with mohawks. That were probably originally beatniks. Yeah, let me get a close up of that. Okay, that's what they did on that. Anyway, the video game ads are showing you that comic books are about to die. All of them are going to have video game ads on the back. And once kids got into video games, they no longer bought these pamphlets. And then soon they couldn't buy the pamphlets because they weren't at 7-Eleven. They weren't at all the stores they went to buy candy. They were only in comic stores, and most kids didn't go to comic stores. I did, but I wasn't most kids. Will this have a video game on? I'm just pulling it out. Is that a video game? Yeah? Yeah, it is. Will this be a video? I should have these bagged and boarded. Yes, I know that. Thanks for telling me that. Here's it's a video game. Oh, it's an ad for another comic. This is interesting. It says, reprinted for the first time ever, Amazing Spider-Man 29 apparently wasn't reprinted in the first wave of Marvel Tales. So this one reprints it's almost unrecognizable. I'll show you. I have that issue. The colors are on the covers are reprinted so much more brightly in these new reprints than Maurice Severin's original coloring on these books was more darker and subdued. I know I've got that issue. Are you kidding me? Come on, man. Maybe I don't have it. No, I guess I don't. What a waste of time. No, I don't have that issue. Oh well. What a shame. I thought I had that issue. Shit. Anyway. Look, it's Mario Brothers. Yeah, video games killed comics. Like, what was that horrible song? Video killed the radio star by the Ruggles or something. I forget what they were called. It's the very first song they played on MTV. When MTV went on the air, they played that video. Video killed the radio star. It's a very annoying song. But it was accurate. It was, oh well. This was a great issue. I wish I had that original comic. This is, you can tell when the artists are getting sick and tired and want to leave. When Jack Kirby wanted to leave, well, he asked for a raise, and Stan Lee said, well, just draw bigger panels and it will, and you'll be doing less work. And it'll be like getting a raise. And you can tell Steve Ditko is getting tired. He's drawing lots bigger panels. Not that I'm complaining, it's beautiful artwork, but it's not. You can just tell things are winding down. Well, I don't know. Later, it looks pretty good here in this issue, as far as 9-panel. I like the 9-panel layout. Maybe it was just that issue. He was kind of, all right. You could certainly see it in Kirby's last. No, it's all right. It's still great. I'll shut up now. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just pontificating. But that was Ditko's last issue in this fantastic debut by Ramita. I've got multiple copies of some of this stuff. I was going to say, oh, there are no video games on the back, but I'm wrong. Look. Apple computer system is one of the prizes. Yeah, wow. Basically, oh, look at this dramatic new cover they designed for that. And then at a certain point, Marvel Tales just starts reprinting Marvel Team Up. And, you know, the thing is, they have new covers. So if you're a completist, you've got to get it because it has a new cover. They're not just reprinting the original. Actually, Marvel Tales did that there for a while in the 70s. That's why it was hard to identify what original Spider-Man comic it was, because they were redrawing the covers, which really makes oh, that's the wrong box. This is the box. You the new covers are cool to have. It's got to be Gil Kane, like this Gil Kane cover. What else do they do? Yeah, see, they're not the original covers. This is... I love this era of the window box, picture frame, whatever you want to call it, the 20-cent era, where there'd be a picture framed by a color. I just got to look at the ads, because look at this. I can immediately know when this was. It's the debut of the Cat. I was living in Hampton, Virginia, 2nd grade when this came out. Whether I read the original from the 60s or I read these versions from when I was a little kid, either way, it's really nostalgic. Though I wasn't a kid in the 60s, it's still... I feel like I was. Man, how could you kill this character off? It was so stupid. It's got some water damage to it. It's so much more fun to read them in the original comic book form than in a hardcover collected. That's just an opinion, you know. That's the original cover, but recolored to look different. Beautiful. I mean, Ditko was perfect, but then when John Romita came along, it was different, but it was just like, okay, well, you got a cheeseburger, you got a chicken fried steak. They're both delicious. Okay, you got a burrito meal, you got a quesadilla. It's like, well, they're both great. They're different, but great. I can't, you ask me, what's better, the cheeseburger or the chicken fried steak? I can't decide. Well, I mean, obviously, Ditko created it, so, but I love it all. Christmas music, looking at Spider-Man, man, it just recharges my batteries, man. That's great. Fantastic. My life is about to become very chaotic. They're going to start soon replacing all the siding on the house, the roof. Who knows what snafus are going to come up, and then there's going to be extra expenses, you know, who knows when they take the siding off, what's it going to look like underneath, what's going to be, there's going to be new problems that the insurance company has to be contacted about. I'm sure it's just going to be, it's not going to just be an easy summer. I don't know. I have to see. We'll have to see. What was the first issue of Marvel Tales I bought? I'll be able to show you. It had the Human Torch on the cover. It's coming up. I would have been in 4th grade. Early 4th grade is when I really started to discover. Here it is. Here's Marvel Tales 57. Is the first issue of Marvel Tales I bought off the stand. And that is February of 75. But the reason I always count back 2 months is to get an accurate sense of, this did not come out in February 75, so I count back this came out in November of 74. And I believe the Marvel Treasury edition with the Fantastic Four probably was October of 74. So, and then I believe Origins of Marvel Comics came out, and that was a Christmas present in '74. So all of that happened at the same time, and then this is my introduction to the Silver Age Spider-Man. This reprinting of issue, whatever this is. This is my childhood copy that should be bagged and boarded, but isn't. But perhaps will be soon, at some point. These things might happen. Anyway, I have made myself happy looking at these books, so I'm ready to. I've gotten a letter from Donald Trump. I got to go figure out how to recharge that doorbell. I think the cube may be insufficient. Look at this. Isn't that cool? I might have seen this movie, Seven Doors of Death from Thriller Video. This was a little promo that you'd get at the video store back in the 80s in the VHS rental days, which some people aren't very nostalgic for. People are starting to collect old VHS tapes. People collect what they're nostalgic for from their childhood. Look what I found. A Western robber. I need to go put it in my Western shadow box, whatever you call it. I need to turn off this jukebox. Look at this jukebox. Isn't that amazing? I'm having trouble getting it to work, which stinks. Oh well. Used to have a friend that would live close. I still have the friend, but I need to call him actually. My friend Gerald, he would visit weekly, and he could fix anything like that. But his presence now being on the other side of the United States, 11 hours away, allows my vintage electronics to kind of fall into a state of disrepair. So I wish I knew someone local that knew how to work on old technology. I might have to put an ad in the paper or something. Okay. Okay. There he goes. A wonderful addition. Look at this. Dr. Phibes rises again. Tons of great paperbacks here. Oh, look at this. Lee Brackett, The Hounds of Skaith. She was very influenced by Edgar Rice Burroughs. She wrote the first treatment for Empire Strikes Back. She's, man, I got all kinds of stuff here. Here's Jane Mansfield's Wild Wild World. I need to go through this and show you all the books, I guess. I don't know if you're interested. Tell me down below. Here's the novelization of College Confidential with Mamie Van Doren. Are you guys interested in paperbacks? Possibly. Did you know there used to be a novelization of every movie that came out? There's this Taxi Driver. And they would say, based on the original screenplay by Paul Schrader. Whenever a new movie came out, there would be a paperback, and there would be a soundtrack album, and that's all you could really get from the movie. So those were the only souvenirs you could really have from a movie. I forgot my bottle of water here earlier. And so Now, before too long, you can own the Blu-ray or 4K. You can actually own a print of the movie. That didn't used to be that way. Before, if you didn't see the movie in the theater, all you had was the soundtrack album, a paperback, and you could read the parody in Mad and Cracked and get a sense of what happens in the plot of the movie. But you were out of luck until it was shown on network television, usually edited to pieces. I'm turning off things. Oh, man, I got this big thing of water to take upstairs to the attic. So I'm going to bring the elevator down because I don't want to carry it up the stairs, man. So I don't know if you've ever seen the elevator coming down. So here's the door. Turn the light on. And so you look down. There's the door that goes to the garage. And way up there is the elevator. So I pull this cord to summon it forth. Okay. I gotta stop it by moving the cords just right. All right, now take the water up. Got a can of dog food. Oh boy. I've got my wife gets paid on this card, and they're sending her a new card or something, and she can't access her money. And so she's got a few $100s tied up on that card. Hopefully it'll arrive soon because, is this it here? No, that's the credit card offer. Kind of in financial peril till that thing shows up, man. Okay. All right, let me take the doorbell up. I don't know if it's charging. I don't think it is. No, it isn't. Let me take the charger to my iPhone up. Turn this power strip off. There we go. What time is it? It is almost 5:30. It's 5:20. So I don't know how long it's going to take to upload this show. So if it's just now uploaded, then you'll know how long it took. Take a look at Alan. Likes to hang out. Look at the window and look at cats passing by. And yeah, incredible. All right, I think that's all I need. We'll go upstairs and eat and hang out and got some dog food. I got all these cords. I got the bottled water. I've got the car in the garage because there's supposed to be a storm here in a little bit, but which will probably never happen. But you never can tell. You want to come in, Drew? Come on, we're going up. Drew, I'll give you the dog food in a minute. Just come on in. Come on in, Drew. Okay, I gotta turn this. What? I gotta turn this light off. Although I'll be coming down here in a little bit again. Okay, Drew. No, Drew, I can open this dog food for you later. Come on, Drew. Come on in. Drew, come on in. All right. So I pull the cord. We head up. We're coming up to the 3rd floor. This elevator used to haul furniture when this used to be a furniture store. Before that, it was a funeral home, so it brought bodies up and down. So I want to shut the light off to the elevator. There's no light switch. Well, no, I'll just keep going with it. All right, well, I've got to go. It's been nice visiting with you. God bless you guys. Please say a prayer. Know that we here at the Hotel Orloff really care about you guys. Take care of it.